everybody, to another episode of the Practical Proficiency Podcast with a special guest. We are in our series of Meet the Speaker for Practical and Comprehensible, and y'all are going to love this one because Pav is here with us, and you know her, you love her, and if you don't, you're probably not a French teacher. So guess what? It's time to learn more about you, Pav, and tell us more about everything that goes on behind the magical scenes of your classroom. And I'm just so excited to have you here because we've been working together for a long time. And finally going to get a nice little sneak peek behind the scenes of how you make all the magic happen. This is going to be great. So let's talk a little bit more about you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. First of all, I feel like one of the last times we spoke, I was just in my first year of teaching without prep time. And I was like, oh, I'm so stressed. This is horrible. And now here we are a few years later. I'm like a whole different person. So it feels great to be back. And I'm really excited to talk about it. But yeah, my name's Pav. I'm a French teacher from British Columbia, Canada. I teach high school French, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I don't teach 12, but we do have 12s in our high school. And unfortunately, because of the pandemic, I've had to teach without a prep time. So I have all the teachers in, my district and even in my province. And so I'm a really big fan of, number one, making culture the meat and potatoes of French class, but then also doing it in a way that is kind of corresponds with the fact that I am time poor because of my lack of prep time. And I'm not interested in sacrificing my own physical and mental health for my career, even though I really love it.
Yeah. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's so good. I'm just amazed as to how you do it because I struggled so hard with just that simple concept of, wait, that's an option. I don't have to sacrifice my health and well-being, even though that you can love your career and not do that. That's so great. So tell us a little bit more about how this has evolved for you, because you're right. You've been a part of this conference since its inception. When I started in 2020, and we did the conference one year twice because people really needed it that year, in way in pandemic times. So during that year, you were starting off with this huge new challenge. And how has it evolved for you over the years? What has changed each year with this really crazy expectation of teaching without a prep?
So the first year is horrible. I actually, I really suffered, and I also had the worst behavior situations in my classroom that I've never experienced before as a teacher. So it was unfortunately a double whammy of not only teaching without prep time, but then also managing severe behavior issues. I was at my desk basically anytime after school in the morning, talking to admin about the issues that I was having because they were so severe. So that year I went home over the summer and I was like, I can't do this anymore. This is my 5th year of teaching. It was the worst year of teaching in my career. I taught without prep time. I had severe behavior issues. And unfortunately, because of the pandemic, the last 3 years I've taught in all these different school systems and schedules. Something has to change. And so that summer, I was like, you know what? I have to do my best. Even though I am a perfectionist, I am a type A teacher, I have to do my best and understand that there needs to be kind of a cutoff. I cannot be marking, 100 group projects and 100 assignments a week and 100 quizzes or something. I need to figure out, I need a system where I can survive and still be a teacher and still be a happy teacher. So over the last couple of years, things have really changed. And you'll see in my presentation, there's 2 parts to it. Number one is the mindset part where I've come to the realization that yes, I want to be a great teacher, but I cannot sacrifice myself. But then part 2 is also I picked up all of these cool tricks and tips, and I've really changed the way that my classroom functions so that I'm as efficient as possible.
It's so important too that you're doing the mindset part first, because that's the hardest. That's the biggest hurdle to get over, especially when you have to make something such a monumental shift like that.
Oh yeah, it's impossible. I just completed in January of 2024 a full year of teaching without prep time. So I had unfortunately 2 consecutive semesters where I did not have prep time. And the whole premise of my conversation for this year's conference is the fact that I didn't burn out. I was tired, but I didn't burn out. And that is because every single day I make the decision when I come in, I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to be very efficient. I'm going to maximize my time inside the classroom. I'm going to make little changes here and there. But then at the end of the day, when that bell rings, I have to go, because if I stay here till 6 o'clock, tomorrow morning, I am going to be a very unhappy teacher. And my students can't have that, and I can't have that.
Hmm. Oh man. And that must have been really hard too. Like I'm sure there were days that it was like not hard. I mean, not easy to leave at that time.
Oh, there are days where I feel like I'm not crossing off anything off the checklist. Like it's long tomorrow, again, it's long, but at the end of the day, if I were to stay until 6 p.m., 9 p.m., and burn the midnight candle, it just, even then, it would not get done, because that's how it happens when you're teaching without prep time, especially for a full year. So it's about systems. I'm a really big fan of systems. Um, there are some other decisions that I have to make. Like sometimes I come in 45 minutes early before school and I work, because I know that teachers at my school are not morning people. And so I won't have to like socialize as much as I love my colleagues. So little decisions here and there that are really important.
Yeah, that I was in that boat. I won't be there in the morning. Absolutely not.
I'm the opposite. Like as soon as the bell rings after school, I'm sorry, but like my admin is corralling the kids outside, and I'm like do 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 do, running into my car. And the other part of this is I'm a really big fan about like centering culture in the French classroom. And so the beauty of that is my lessons do not have to be complicated or complex in order for them to be all in the target language, right? And for them to be engaging. And then also, I'm not planning things. So sometimes I found, especially in the first year that I was teaching without prep time, was that I would create this long, complicated lesson, right? Like I'd stay till 4:30 p.m. And then I did it the next day, and I was like, oh, like it wasn't really that special. The kids didn't love it. I didn't feel as though it was the most like important learning opportunity for them. And then over the years, I'm like, you know what? A simple video and me talking in French and asking my students questions about that video, beautiful. Like they're so engaged. I'm enjoying myself. And so simple is always, in my opinion, better over complicated lessons.
Hmm. Oh, that's so good. I feel like the more it's hard when you start out, but the better you get with questions and the better you get with working with talking to your students, the easier your
Mhm.
lesson plans actually do get, which is like the whole premise behind like practical and comprehensible is
Yes.
that like what I really believe and what I found is that the because it's a skill, right? Like it takes a couple
Mhm.
years to get used to. It's a
Mhm.
long game that the more that you work with students and you learn the art of how to converse with students, that you don't have to spend as much time filling your lessons with other stuff. Like you
Mhm.
can just talk to them and try your best to like get them to answer back, which is the hard part. Like it's investing in those skills that will save you a lot of prep time.
Yeah, and you're right. It is totally an art. And for that reason, I'm a really big fan of not creating everything by myself. I really like to see what the community is out there doing. And so sometimes for me, it means that I look up to the people in my field and I see, oh, what is so and so doing in their classroom? Like, what is so and so doing? Not reinventing the wheel is really important. And sometimes I do have lessons from the previous year that weren't that successful. But because, I have time to think about my class like as they're walking in, I'm going to do the lesson from last year. And
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna pick myself. And you're right, it's not perfect, it's not amazing, but it is what it is given my situation. And again, I have to invest in myself as well.
And we need to draw attention too that like what you're doing is truly revolutionary. That you picking yourself means that you've you're still in the profession. You're still here.
Yes.
You're still kicking ass, and you're still
Mhm.
with students, because like I made
Mhm.
the mistake of not picking myself, and my health really suffered for it. And, I had to
Mhm.
like make a lot of changes in my career for that.
Yeah.
On the side, I like found my true
Mhm.
calling, which is really nice. But that's not how it works out for a lot of
Mhm.
educators. A lot of educators have had to leave because of
Mhm.
this impossible choice that many people are under. And I know I felt it too. So this whole idea of picking yourself is
Mhm.
really, you're picking yourself next year. You're picking
Yes.
yourself in 3 years. You're picking the
Yes.
teacher you like, the longevity
Mhm.
teacher. You're picking the teacher who
Mhm.
stays for 20 years or however long you want to be here. Because there's so many teachers who love, 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 love this work, but hate what it does to them. And this
Mhm.
is such an amazing message of, you you need to pick yourself. Like, teachers are so used
Mhm.
to not doing that. And
Yes,
it's such a good way.
absolutely. And I think it's because we think that if, our lessons are perfect and we spend this many amount of hours working on them, that our students will benefit, that they'll have a richer learning experience, but that's not always, necessarily true, right? And at the end of the day, if I'm picking myself, I'm a happier teacher, and a happier teacher is happier students, right? I enjoy interacting with my students. I enjoy being in front of the classroom. And so that is really important at the end of the day. Not only am I making sure that 2 years down the line I'm happy, but I'm also happy tomorrow morning when I'm interacting with my students. And that's really important as well.
Mhm. Ah, yes, and this is exactly why you're in day 1 when we celebrate you. Like, when we're because it's time. Like, it's time for teachers to stand up and say, like,
Mhm.
"I'm the real deal. I'm the reason this class runs every day. I'm amazing." And we need to celebrate ourselves and all the choices
Absolutely.
that we're making every day.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think we just need to celebrate the fact that we are amazing. We're doing our best every single day, and our best is enough.
Yeah.
And our
Oh,
best
that's
is
so
enough.
good.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, say it for the people in the bag. It's so true. Like,
Our
you're
best
just
is
enough.
enough.
It
Exactly. Yes.
is. It really is. Oh, that's so cool. And how have your students been reacting to this?
Much better, honestly, because I don't put a lot of pressure on myself and I'm enjoying teaching. I'm enjoying these simple lessons that I'm creating. And yeah, they've learned so much. My grade 11s actually this past year, grade 12s now. I'm sorry.
The
So
baby's
during the
grown up.
pandemic, yeah, during the pandemic, 2020, 2021, they were grade eights. And so that year, it was like the first time that I had to teach without prep time. I was like, I'm not doing it. No way. Like, I hate teaching. It's my fourth year of teaching. Why are we doing this to me? And
Mhm.
so I met them and they were amazing. They were so sweet. They were so hardworking. And so that was the year I was like, you know what? I think I want to try out these routines like question du jour, expression de la semaine. I really want to also not do grammar with them. They're going to be my guinea pigs for all of this, right? And so it went so well. It was so successful. So over the years, I've been so lucky that I got to teach them in grade 9, got to teach them in grade 10, and now in grade 11. And so I've seen that growth of A, not putting a lot of pressure on myself, B, enjoying teaching, C, balancing, my life as a human being with my life as a teacher. And so this past year, I was so incredibly impressed with what they were able to do. It was beautiful. And yeah, honestly, I was able to enjoy myself too my last year teaching them because I wasn't exhausted, I wasn't burnt out, and yeah, that's really important.
Oh, so good. Okay, I'm gonna ask you like kind of an off the cuff question, because I feel like this has been on my mind a lot lately, of
Mhm.
the how summers can actually be kind of like not actually that relaxing for teachers, because you spend all
Mhm.
this time thinking about like, "Ooh, maybe I should be preparing for school." Like, I always felt a little bit angsty in the summer. And I know a
Mhm.
lot of teachers feel that way too. I just
Yeah.
actually talked to one of my Practical Proficiency Network members, was telling me like, "Yeah, I'm relaxing in the summer, but I also feel like I'm not ready for the next year. And I had a hard year this year. So like, how can I relax this summer?" So with
Mhm.
you've got this great mindset already. What do you do during the summer? Like, now that you've because you were telling me like now this is the first week that you can actually like relax and be
Mhm.
summery. What does summer feel like and look like for you?
I don't think about my own personal classroom at all. So nothing, like no assignments, no projects, no preparation for next year, none of that. And that's because I feel as though I need time to not think about my classroom and my students. And so when September rolls around, I'm a happy, healthy teacher to be back in the classroom and to do that full time. Um, it is really hard to disconnect because you're right. Like before I left in June, I wrote myself a little list of things that I would like to have. But then the last week and last like 2 weeks of school, I'll start to sit down and I will slowly ease myself into it. And that like second last week, I'll do more fun things that I need to do. And then if I need a day or two in the last week before summer, then I will sit down and I'll create that resource or I'll do this. But to be honest, like this year, I told myself I'm not doing anything. And that's because I really need it after how long and exhausting last year was.
Such a good idea.
Mhm.
Such a good idea of like knowing. And two, that's important as well is reading the differences, knowing that like, if my heart is saying this, it's probably saying
Yes.
it for a reason. If
Mhm.
I feel tired, it's probably
Mhm.
for a reason. If I'm not
Mhm.
excited to go down the rabbit hole of all those things that I usually do, it's probably for a reason.
And I am the biggest believer in listening to yourself and your body. So if your body is telling you, no, don't do it, don't do it. But if your body says, you know what, maybe this summer I'll go to the cafe and I'll work on this one thing that will make my life easier in, let's say, like October to February, I fully support you. Go do that. But listen to your mind and your body.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so good. Okay. I have another question for you then, because it's such a big part of why I'm obsessed with you and why the whole French teacher community is obsessed with you is because you make our culture lessons so much easier. So much
Mhm.
easier. So tell us a little bit more about how do you integrate all of this together in your classroom? Like you're known for this magic combination that you do of culture, justice, and diversity in your French lessons. So tell us a little bit more about that and what you do.
Well, number one, I like to see what other French teachers are doing out there as well, and I like to go to Pro Ds. So this past year, my district actually did a Pro D with a author, and his name is Dani Ramadan, and he's a Syrian author who moved to my city. And so I bought this French picture book. It's about this girl named Salma, and she experiences culture shock when she moves to Vancouver, which by the way is a very rainy city. And the story is about basically her settling into her new home and comparing it to her home in Syria. So I thought, this story has passé composé. It has a little bit of Mme D. I think it would be perfect for my grade 10 French class. And so I had the squirreliest grade 10 class this year. I could not convince them to sit down and do any work, right? Like they were just like everywhere all the time. And I said, I think I'm going to give it a go. I think this could be really valuable. They sat the whole time and they listened to me read to them, and they were so
What?
into the book. As I'm like reading this book and flipping through the pages, I'm like, what's wrong with them? Like, why? What is happening? Right? And it was amazing. It was truly one of those magical experiences. So whenever possible, I love to bring in anything like music and books and movies, any sort of authentic document where the kids get to hear from that person or those people themselves.
Oh, that's a good idea. And even it's a genius idea, but also like the lens through which you're looking at it of like this has all of the elements that I'm looking for in my
Mhm.
lessons and what I need to teach, as well as I think is going to be really, really dynamite interesting
Mhm.
for my students.
Yeah, and it was their favorite lesson of the year, and I genuinely did not expect that. They said, like, "Can you please read to us again?" I said, "Say less, let's do it."
Yes.
Yeah. And I think we assume that high school students don't want us to read to them, and they don't want us to read picture books to them, but that's not true at all. They loved it.
Wow, yeah, I would not have guessed that from my high
Mhm.
schoolers. Like I would have always picked for them chapter books, but I'm sad I'm not in the classroom anymore to try that now. That's great. Like you use picture books with them, really?
Yeah, every once in a while, especially if it's a really good story. A
Mhm.
lot of the picture books I have, for example, they're really great. They have Indigenous stories, Indigenous authors are writing them, or sometimes we have really great Asian authors. So I find that it's a really great way to integrate all these different lived experiences and all of
Mhm.
these different like authors and their backgrounds, and also incorporate French and to do all these natural things that I need to do in the language classroom anyways.
Oh, gorgeous. Everybody's gonna be go running for picture books now. That's good.
Yes,
Well,
I
and
have recommendations. Yeah.
yeah, good. Yeah, so go to Pav's website. You'll be able to find all the contact info if you're
Mhm.
watching below this video and in the show notes if you are listening. But for that too, that is wonderful too. For it's good, probably makes it a lot easier to build a classroom library because it's the best, but it takes time to get there and like put all those resources
Yeah.
together. So with I like that a lot with these books.
Mhm.
That's so good. So you've talked a lot too about what it looks like inside your classroom every day and all this great stuff about what it means to be a teacher who chooses yourself every year and what you're really choosing is longevity really in this profession
Mhm.
that you love. And tell me, how has your approach really changed over since you've started from your first year to the 7 years that you're in now?
Mhm. Okay, so number one, I don't teach a lot of grammar anymore. That's the
Mhm.
way that I used to be taught, a lot of grammar drills, grammar worksheets. And as I said, in 2020, 2021, with this year's grade 12, I decided I wasn't going to do that anymore. And that has been one of my favorite things ever because now I'm teaching in context and the kids actually get it. They understand the grammar without being like forced to do these drills and worksheets that were super unnecessary. The other things that have changed are just the way that I structure my classes. Um, yeah, honestly, so much has changed. I feel like very little is the same as it was back then. The kinds of lessons that I do, yeah, everything. Routines, I love routines. Routines are my favorite. There's something that I definitely really need in order to survive as a teacher without prep time. So teaching with routines is one of my favorites. Like we love doing chansons de la semaine. My students this year were obsessed with games. They asked me if they could go to a concert. I was like, I wish he came to Vancouver.
Oh,
I wish.
so jealous.
Yeah.
And his
But
glasses. Oh man.
yes, exactly. Yeah, but culture, routines, less grammar, grammar context, those are the main ways that my teaching has changed over the last 7 years.
What a cool evolution. Like everybody starts I feel like a lot of people start in that space and then, they grow. They grow. And so
Yes,
it's been
it's
amazing. And
really scary. It can be really scary if that's what you're used to, but it's totally worth it.
oh, yeah. Though
Mhm.
okay, that's a good reminder for everybody is that it can be
Yeah,
a little bit scary when you're starting
yeah,
out. Like,
exactly.
I'm gonna leave that behind. Pav, you've been a conference presenter every year since I
Mhm.
started this crazy idea. So, from like a true place of gratitude, thank you for helping to keep this crazy idea alive and making it great. And I'm so excited for people to dive deeper into your work this year with Practical and
Mhm.
Comprehensible Celebrate, where you are going to be giving them like the full gambit
Yes.
on like what it means to survive the storm
Mhm.
without burnout. I'm so excited for that.
Thank you. No, seriously, I'm so excited to be on again for the 5th year in a row. I remember the first year it was horrible. I did not know how to speak. So over the years, I feel like I've really evolved as a speaker and someone who shares my information. So thank you so much for the opportunity. And yeah, I'm so excited to dig into all the practical tips and strategies.
I mean, I loved it. I had fun at our interview. But yeah, we're always growing. So
Yes.
it's gonna be amazing, y'all. You have to make sure that you join. If you are not yet a part of the conference, check below this either video or in these show notes. You will see the affiliate link for Pav so that you can also support all the amazing work that she's doing at zero cost to you. Literally, you click the link, magic happens for Pav, and it's no work for you. It's awesome. So come join our free conference. Come learn more about what it means to choose yourself, choose teacher longevity, and be really happy in the process. Pav, thank you so much for being here and sharing all your
Thank
wisdom
you for
with
having me.
us. We'll see you at the conference, y'all. Bye for now.